Internet, Eric here. Well, I mentioned it numerous times here and on other channels that when I finally finished the Phantasm franchise and threw in a random vampire movie discussion video, I'd be jumping into the Kickboxer franchise because why the hell not? I found them cheap on eBay and I've only seen the first one, but I found them cheap on eBay. Love the first one. Spoilers, so I'm going to discuss all of them. So let's start with the classic 1989 Kickboxer with Jean-Claude Van Damme. Now, if you're new to my channel, welcome. I discuss plot spoilers, specific scenes, what have you. I already said I love this movie, so here's why. Basic plot of this, Jean-Claude Van Damme plays Kurt Sloan, and he and his brother Eric are in Thailand because Eric is a world champion kickboxer. He's defeated everybody in America, so he is told he's coming after another victory. He says, "Why not try Thailand?" He's just this cocky guy. He's like, "Oh, why not?" So they go to Thailand, and they meet. Does he show? You can't really see him very well, but he meets their champion Tong Po, and he is defeated super easily. And at the end of the match, Tong Po breaks Eric's back, and Eric is permanently paralyzed. And then the rest of the movie is a revenge film, basically, because now Kurt wants to learn Muay Thai uh, from a Muay Thai master so he can get revenge and beat the shit out of Tong Po. That's basically it in a nutshell. Cast of this. Okay, like I said, I absolutely love this film. The cast. Van Damme, over as much as I love, this is my favorite Jean-Claude Van Damme movie. I don't think it's my favorite Van Damme performance because there's two Van Dammes here. There is pre-paralyzed Van Damme, pre-paralyzed brother Van Damme, and then there's post Van Damme, and he's just kind of a dork in the very beginning because he's just trying to play off of, I think his name is Dennis Alexio, the guy who plays his brother Eric, and they don't have that great of chemistry. I mean, we'll get to Dennis in a second, but Van Damme does what he can with what he's given, and he's just there to be like, Eric's trying to pick up a girl, and he's just like, "Oh shucks, you shouldn't do that," and stuff like that, and then he's yell and scream during the fight, this and that. He's okay. The scene where the doctor tells Kurt that Eric is paralyzed, and he's trying to give emotion is okay. Now, once he meets his trainer and he starts training, I think Van Damme improves immensely. Really, really good. I buy some of the comedy that happens with the training sessions. I buy the anger. One of my favorite scenes is when his trainer is making him literally kick a palm tree and try to knock it down. And he keeps kicking it and keeps kicking it. And eventually he gives up and he says, "I can't do it." And his trainer, Zian, looks at him and says, "Take your bags and leave." And Kurt looks at him, he's like, "You want me to break my leg?" And then Zian tells him, "Your brother. Remember?" The ferocity, the anger comes out, and he kicks that fucking thing down. And the anger is great, and then he just falls and collapses. It's a great scene. There's a little bit of comedy after, right before he gives up, Zian walks over and he raises the leaf and he says, "Winner, palm tree." That's some funny stuff, but I buy the anger. I buy the relationship he has with Zian's niece, Mali. So I love his relationship with Taylor. So once they get past the paralyzation, and once Zian starts training Van Damme, I think Van Damme improves immensely. He now has a purpose in this film. He has better people to act off of, and he's the reason why he's the star of the film. Let's get to the other actors. The actor who plays Zian, his trainer, very, very good, very calm, collected, low key, but quite funny at times. I love, like I said, Winter Palm Tree. That was fun. There's a scene where he makes Kurt go get his groceries, and he says, just things like, "Can't make a decision on empty stomach," stuff like that. Or he looks at Kurt and he says, "So, are you good?" And Kurt's like, "Yeah, I'm good," asking about his skills. And then he jumps up, does fucking half a dozen kicks right, inches from from Kurt's face. And then he's like, Must train different in America because your defense stinks. Lots of fun. I love Zian. Other characters. Taylor. Taylor is the man that uh, takes Kurt and Eric to the hospital. And Taylor he's a Vietnam War vet. He's now living in Thailand, living the good life. All Taylor wants to do is fucking party. He's going to strip clubs, getting drunk, this and that. He is the comic relief of this movie, and I love everything he's in. They take Eric to the hospital, and Taylor says, I know who can teach you Muay Thai. Zian, he lives out in the sticks. He's like, okay, take me. He's like, no, I'll take you tomorrow. We go get drunk tonight. And no, can't we go now? He's like, no, fuck now. We'll go tomorrow. That type of stuff. And then and then Kurt just wants to go back to the hotel, and he's like, nah, we're going to a place that I love. So he gets in, and Taylor's this type of guy when he wants to show Kurt a good time. So the first things he says, so where are we going? The Pink Pussy or the Kitten Candy Club? That's Taylor. All he wants to do is hang out with the pretty women. But he's really good at being dramatic, too, when you find out his backstory on why he wants to help Kurt and Eric, because there's one time someone needed his help. He says he froze up. And what's great is you find out that he was in explosions and, into, semi-automatic weapons. He knew that type of stuff, because eventually Eric gets kidnapped by some gangsters, I guess you would call them. And Taylor and Zian break him out. Taylor shows up. Shit happens, and it's great. And again, Taylor is just so funny because he is that, he'd be like a sidekick in an 80s action movie. He's got all the one-liners. He's so funny. I love when during the final fight, the rounds change when you hit the big gong, right? Well, the bad guys they want the round to end early because Kurt is kicking some ass, and then Taylor shows up, stops the thing, stops it from hitting the gong. He's like, tells the guy to go away. So he's holding the stick. So eventually, let me see here. Let me grab a pen or something. Here. So what happens is, spoilers, we all know Kurt wins. All right, come on, it's a Van Damme fucking movie. So at the end, after he celebrates, everyone's happy. Taylor's still got the little stick to hit the gong. He cackles and he just goes, ha ha ha. He throws the stick in the air like that and walks up to celebrate. Taylor's fun. Who else is there? Molly as Zian's niece. Very sweet, very humble, very lovable. Great chemistry with Zian. Great chemistry with Van Damme. Even though, because it's 1989, it's a Van Damme movie, they fall in love and bang really quick. You buy it. You know what I mean? When she is assaulted by Tong Po, the villain, you buy it. When she doesn't want to tell Kurt during the fight, you buy it. She tells Taylor during that, and that's what convinces him to get involved to help rescue Eric. She's really, really good. Tong Po, Michael Quissy, childhood friend of Van Damme. He is a scary motherfucker. We first see him training in his locker room, and he's kicking one of the support beams that's holding up the ceiling, and as Van Damme horribly says, the plaster was falling down. He's kicking it with his fucking leg. And he doesn't have a lot of dialogue. It's more intimidation, body language. Like when Kurt walks in and sees the plaster falling down, he just looks at him and he just goes like this. Like he's going to break his brother, and he does. Very little dialogue, scary to look at. And then when you find out what he does to Kurt, he sexually assaults Molly. They don't tell Kurt because eventually, that would throw him off his game. Halfway through the fight, he looks down at Kurt. Kurt's already beaten up. He's like, you bleed like Molly. Molly, good fuck. He is such a piece of crap, such a piece of garbage. And he tells Kurt that right at the time when Kurt's already getting his ass kicked. I really like Michael Quissy as Tong Po. There's Tong Po's boss is Freddie Lee. Freddie Lee is, like I said, the head of the Thai gangsters or whatever. He's there to look like a scumbag. Any other characters? Eric, Dennis Alexio. Apparently he was I don't know if he was a world champion, but he was a real successful kickboxer at that time. He should have stuck to kickboxing. He's awful in this film. He's cocky. He's supposed to be cocky, but he's unlikable. His delivery is bad. But I can overlook how bad he is because he's not in the movie that much. I can overlook how bad he is because everyone else is great. Fight scenes are so good. I love, oh man, whether it's Tong Po beating the shit out of Eric, whether it's Kurt showing up at Molly's store for the groceries, and you got Freddie Lee's thugs trying to take the money, and Kurt kicks the shit out of them. And I love how the little bits of comedy, you got the little old man smoking the pipe, just going hee hee, laughing when that happens. Great fight. Some of the kickboxing is hit and miss, especially when it's Eric fighting in the beginning. Kurt's matches are okay. I love the final fight. The final fight is we fight by the old ways. You know what I mean? It's in the pit, torches and all that stuff, all that underground shit. And if you're a fan of death matches, this is where they got the idea for the Taipei death match. Ian and Axel Rotten made it famous in ECW. It's now famous in the deathmatch circuit. It's still going on. IWA Mid-South made it famous. It's still happening. I talked about ICW No Holds Barred. They still do that. I don't know if GCW or XPW still does it, but it's still happening in the deathmatch circuit. What it is they use tape, double-sided tape and stuff like that in wrestling. But what they do in this movie is they wrap their hands around with cloth. They dip it in glue, and then they dip it in broken glass. So when they're punching you, whoosh, whoosh, your skin's getting cut to. That final fight is amazing. I think it's so fucking intense. Even though, like I said, Van Damme's going to win. It doesn't matter. He's getting his ass kicked. Tong Po's beating the shit out of him. We get the great comeback. And then, boom, we get the final kick that knocks Tong Po out. And then, what I love is how Eric, he goes, whoosh, he kicks him. And Tong Po slides down, the part of the wall that he's against. Van Damme still got his foot up. He turns at Freddie Lee, and then, boom, kicks him in the face. Great fights. Now, even though I love this film, I said it's my favorite Van Damme movie, there's still some cringe to it. It's 1989, it's still some cringe. I can't help but always make fun of Van Damme in the very beginning, because I even pointed it out to producer Rachel, that he looks like a fucking walking Ken doll. He looks more intense here. He must have gotten a fucking haircut. But before Eric gets injured, he looks like a fucking Ken doll. And it's funny. And then, of course, there is the dance sequence when Zien takes him to a bar, and he gets Kurt super, super fucking drunk. Shots after shots after shots. And Van Damme, he's doing it because he gets a couple of Freddie Lee's buddies mad at Van Damme so he can fight drunk. He insults their mom or something like that, and they beat the shit out. Try to beat up Van Damme. Van Damme kicks their asses. What I'm talking about, this is the scene where there's GIFs, videos, it's all over YouTube, anything like that, where Van Damme's doing this cheesy fucking dance with two Thai girls. It's hilarious and cringy at the same time. Shaking his hips. He does the splits, bounces his crotch up off the ground, slides back up, shakes his butt, does it. It's awful. You know what I mean? But whatever. I can look past. I love some of the sequences, the training sequences, where he's wherever the fuck this is, and Zien's training him. We got that cool hawk that always watches them. I love the scene where Zien's got these giant sticks, and Kurt has to hit the top of them. There's like a little ball at the top, and eventually, I don't know if it's planned or not, he knocks one of the tops off. Some good comedy in the training. Zien's just sitting by like a pond, or with bricks and stuff like a well, and he's playing a flute, and then suddenly Kurt pops his head out. He's like, "Am I done yet?" Zien just looks at him, pushes him down, and then we get this really cool shot of Van Damme doing like a kata underwater, blowing the bubbles out. Awesome movie. I absolutely love Kickboxer. Ken doll and dance sequence, be damned. Great performances by everyone except for Dennis Alexio, who plays Eric. But you know what? I can overlook that because of how good everything else is. So that's it. My favorite Van Damme movie. That's it. I already said that. Like and subscribe. Comment below. Tell me what you think. Do you like Van Damme movies? Where would you put this? Do you love this film? Do you at least love the dance sequence? Why? Like and subscribe. All that crap. I will slowly be going through the franchise. This is the only one with Van Damme. The main star for the rest of the franchise is, I don't remember his name, Sasha Jensen, I think, the guy who plays Cousin Cody, the dumbass from Step by Step. He is the lead in parts 2, 3, and 4. In part 5, he is gone. They replace him with Mark something. He was one of the guys in Double Dragon and one of the hosts for Iron Chef. What the fuck? And then I had the 2 remakes where Van Damme returns, and they got some MMA guys. So that's it. That's all I got planned. I'm going to do the Kickboxer stuff. Two Bearded Losers will be back someday. Promise. Random vampire stuff thrown in. Whatever. Cheers.